there. Welcome into Primetime TV Show. I'm one of your hosts, Barbara Marvell Kelly. With me is my husband, best friend, and all of the above, forever and ever and ever, Dennis Kelly. Welcome back again, 2 weeks in a row.
I think I keep coming back because of that introduction. I don't know if I can live up to that.
It's a lot of fun what we do here on Mondays, live at 5. And we want to thank you for joining us. I had posted earlier on Facebook today, seeing that it's the beginning of the year, we've already been talking about goal setting, and you'll probably hear a few little tidbits on goal setting, because today we're going to share some of our secrets to life. One of the biggest ones is if you happen to be an athlete or you know someone that's an athlete, doesn't matter whether it's professional or what have you, my husband's going to share some of the tidbits from his life, exactly what he had to do, what he had to believe, and walking his talk in order to become a world champion. Then in the next section of our show today, I'm going to share a few little secrets that has actually rubbed off on me. So I'm going to go ahead and toss over to Dennis Kelly, and let's kind of talk about this, because we're getting ready to gear up for a very special month in July, because at age 78, you're going to go do it again, aren't you?
Absolutely.
And what I mean by that, do it again, is he's going to be coming out of retirement. Now, how many times will it be?
This will be the 6th time I've come out of retirement to compete.
6 times, so he's going to compete to show that age is just a number. When you take care of yourself, even when you're faced with certain challenges, when you change your belief system and you get right back down into the core of who you truly are, gosh, the sky's the limit, isn't it?
Absolutely. There isn't any limit. I mean, the thing is, the key is the power of our imagination. And there should be no limit to what we imagine. And you mentioned what I would do to be a world-class athlete, or things I used to do to become a world-class athlete. And I think that what stands out with my situation more than a lot is I wasn't always a good athlete. In high school, I was one of the worst athletes. And I had this paradigm that I just didn't have any ability or talent when it comes to the athleticism. And so I had to overcome those paradigms. And what I suggest everybody do that is interested in being a world-class person or athlete is use sports as a metaphor for life. That's important. In other words, one thing that I did when I had my businesses and with my employees, what I would do is I would say, I want you to pretend that you're hiring, that God came down and gave you a business, whatever business you'd like to be in, and you're hiring these employees for that business, all right? First of all, make a list of all the spiritual attributes you feel that that employee would have. In other words, you can have the best employee. You can create your own employees by creating the image of what you want. So first thing, the spiritual things. What would you want out of your employee to be spiritually? Then the next thing would be the mental things. What mental things would you want your employee to have? In other words, what type of education or what type of effectiveness would you want your person to have mentally? Would they be able to handle their stress? Would they be able to be mentally sharp? So you would have that choice. And then the choice, the emotional part. What would you expect out of that employee? In other words, being able to have control of their emotions. And so and also, what would you like the employee, what type of habits would you like the employee to have, so that you would have the perfect, what I call the dream team of employees. Then what you would do is write all those things down, and then see how you match those things.
Very good.
In other words, if that person, you say, well, they would have to have control of their emotions, they'd have to be neat, they'd have to have integrity. All right, all those things, what do those things at the world-class professional you just created from dust, so to speak, what of those things do you have, and what of those things do you not have? So that's the way you would gear how you'd want to become a world-class professional, whether it be in sports, whether it be a world-class father, mother, whether it be a world-class CEO, it's all the same principles.
So As an athlete, that's how you kind of started out, was laying this groundwork. And did you follow other athletes that were champions, and sort of try to mirror or pick up the same habits so that you could become a world-class athlete?
Well, I think one of the things I did to emphasize that and to be able to create the paradigm that's for success is, first of all, I wanted to be able to be a better person than I was. I wanted to be a good athlete, just to say that I've accomplished something. I wanted to be a good employer and a good employee. So all those things. So you have to then develop a belief system. And how I developed my belief system is I read a lot of autobiographies of great world leaders and athletes, and decided, or I shouldn't say decided, but picked out all the things that they did to make them the world-class athlete. And not just reading one, but many, many autobiographies of famous people. And they had a lot in common. There was a lot in common. In fact, they all sort of were alike in many different ways. But the ones that failed, there was many different ways they failed. They weren't alike. They had scattered things that they did well, but very few of those things did they do to the point would make them a world-class professional. When I use the world-class, not to use that as a goal, but to use that as a direction, because you can never be perfect at anything that you do. The key thing is to use the goal as a direction. You know,
Perfection
that's
is only a direction, as you always say.
Absolutely. And then creating that belief system that enables you to be able to overcome any obstacles. First of all, you have to believe that there's no limit to the human potential. I think everybody would agree that we, as human beings, have unlimited potential. And I think you all will agree that we'll only use a third of our potential. So the key is how to use that other two-thirds of the potential.
And how do you do that?
First of all, realize you have the power to do that.
Okay, so but the thing is that, you know, until I heard you say that, I didn't realize that I had more potential until you showed that to me. And then I thought, well, yeah, maybe I can do this and I can do that and this. That's when I became obsessive compulsive in doing those things. But you're right. If you just open up the floodgates and go for it and believe in yourself, but it does take a really strong belief system and wanting it, right?
Well, that's the big thing, is you have to add why. In other words, why develop that kind of person? Well, the best gift you could give your loved ones is to be a good example. So thinking about not just for yourself, but how you can help other people. But to help other people, you have to first learn to manage yourself. To have self-confidence. Dr. Maxwell Maltz, in his book Psycho-Cybernetics, put it quite eloquently. He said that to improve performance, you would first have to improve your self-image. The big challenge is most people have a poor self-image because of either the way they were raised, just like I had a poor self-image because my coach told me I was a lousy athlete, not so many words, heard him telling the other members of the team that he apologizing for putting me in and letting me play in the game, but they had to because we were in such a small school. There wasn't that many people out for the athletics. So it's being able to overcome those things, be able to realize that we have unlimited potential, just like Roger Bannister. We call it the Roger Bannister effect. They said that nobody would ever, the experts said, no one would be able to break the 4-minute mile. It would be totally impossible. And what did he do? He went and broke the 4-minute mile. As soon as he broke the 4-minute mile, many people come out of the woodwork breaking the 4-minute mile because of that mindset, that it can be done. And one of the things that the Asian martial artists that I've worked with so many hours with, and some of the most physically, mentally, and emotionally fit people in the world, and their whole concept of being was so much different than ours, that they didn't think of themselves as matter, of a physical thing. They would think of themselves as an energy being, that they would feel, in other words, they would relate to the energy that they were able to encompass, create through their whole mindset and that. In other words, they looked at us as human beings that were energy and information. Then when you turn to a quantum physicist, he will tell you we're only 1/10 of 1% matter. that were 99.9% energy and information. So once you realize that we're energy beings and get away from this plasmatic effect that we're a body and legs and arms, sure, we have that. We know we have that. But the key thing is to not allow that to be your limit. With an energy being, there's no limit. And I believe that there's things that will still be done that will, in a number of years, it will blow your mind if we could look into the future.
Absolutely. And it's taking off the roadblocks, actually taking the roadblocks out and actually seeing those things happen like you've done.
Absolutely. And I did it at first for revenge. In other words, to prove my stepfather, who used to call me a bum, and my coach that was telling other players I was the worst athlete that he's ever coached, and using that as a positive, as a negative positive. In other words, that worked for a while, but eventually you need to do it not just for that reason. But that was the thing that set me off. But then once I reached a certain point where I started to gain knowledge and started feeling better about myself and started raising my self-image, and then I realized that I needed to keep raising that self-image and realize that there was no limitations to what I could do. Chance of me ever writing a book and getting it published back in 1996 was probably 1,000,000 to 1 because of my education, my limited education, and so on. But I wasn't limited in world knowledge education because I read thousands of books, went to many seminars, but I'm talking about my scholastic education. And when somebody asked me, why did you quit high school? I said, well, somebody had to provide jobs for college graduates.
Well, so the tipping point, I want to find out at what point, I mean, you're having this voice in your head constantly as a kid going through high school, right? You're hearing your coach, you're hearing your stepdad. What was the tip? Where did you have to go? What did you have to do in order to get to that part where you, darn it, I believe in myself and they're all wrong and I'm going to prove them all wrong?
Well,
where was that?
It starts with baby steps, you know what I mean? Baby
yeah.
steps, and then education yourself as far as raising your self-image, a step at a time. But what happened is I happened to create, or I should say, facilitate bringing some good mentors into my life.
Okay.
When I went to learn how to dance, because my girlfriend broke up with me because I wouldn't dance and ran off with a ballroom dance instructor, I went into a dance studio after trying to learn how to dance from my mother, and she was an excellent dancer. Her and my stepfather won awards and so on. She told me I had no rhythm, I'd never be able to learn how to dance.
Never say never.
Well, when I went into the dance studio after trying so hard to dance so I could get my girlfriend back, the individual that was the owner of the dance studio, which was my instructor, a French-Canadian, she was a Canadian national champion. When I walked in, I said, do you think you can teach me how to dance? She said, if you can walk through that door, you can learn how to dance. She said, then I told her about my story. She said, well, she said, I will make you be able to dance rings around that fella that took your girlfriend away. Well, little did I realize she said things like that to everybody. But I wanted to believe that.
And you did.
So yeah, and I want to give it, I'll just take a fictitious name, Joe. So the motivation was to get in there and beat Joe and get my girlfriend back.
So that was what your drive was.
That was my drive.
That was your drive.
And
it was strong, right?
That was not thinking I was going to become a world champion or anything like that. My immediate goal, the baby step, was to get my girlfriend back and to dance better than Joe.
And which you did.
And Joe used to work for my dance teacher and the owner. He used to work for him, and she fired him because of some of his habits, whatever they may be. So anyway, I practiced for 6 months without going to, by the way, there was only one nightclub in town, the Rendezvous in Fort Myers, Florida. And that was where she would hang out and he would hang out, and they had a band that would play cha-cha and swings. So it was the only place in town to hang out. So anyway, for 6 months I didn't go there. She gave me the keys to the studio, and I would practice to 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And then after 6 months, I decided to make my trip to the Rendezvous. Well, needless to say, Pat wasn't as good a dancer as I thought.
You mean Joe?
I mean, Joe. I gave his name away. Well, that's why nobody knows his last name.
Well, we've
Pat
shared
is the name I used in the book.
we've shared this story before several times, but we do get new viewers with us and everything. And I always love this story, but I never really tried to dissect this story and drill it down to that one point that really got you up and running. And it sounds like this was.
Well, the final thing what happened with well, I'll give his real name, Pat, and her name was Gigi. The real thing was when I went into the club and there they were dancing, and I realized I was a better dancer than he was in the cha-cha. That was the dance that she really loved, and that's what they did a lot, and the swing, but mainly the cha-cha. So I went over to the best-looking girl in the club that could dance and asked her to dance. And first she remembered me. She says, Kelly, I don't want to hurt your feelings. They remember me not being a dancer. I said, no, I can dance now. So we got up on the floor and did the cha-cha, and this gal that I picked to dance was an ex-dance instructor, and gorgeous too. So we're on the floor, and then you see the expression of my ex-girlfriend's face when I was up there dancing, just like that. Then after we finished, she came over, well, you learn how to dance like that. Would you dance with me? And you know what? The girl that I just danced with before was a lot better looking and a sharper girl, and I thought, wait a minute. I think that I could do better than this. I didn't even want her back. Now that's oversimplifying, and it was a lot more complicated in my head, but that was a decision I came to.
But little did you realize at that time that was going to change your life forever.
That changed my life dramatically.
Because you proved to yourself.
She eventually asked me to become an instructor. And I quit construction, worked as a dance instructor. 3 years later, I won the world championships in tango in the Pro-Am division. So, and it all started with that little thing. Then I started thinking, well, wait a minute, if I did this, what else can I do? Then I started really raising, I should say, making my main goal to make a lot of money. Well, I ended up making a lot of money, but the point of it is I let my body go. And I gained weight and was, had high blood pressure and all that. So then I had to change that, and I enrolled in a martial arts school so that I could lose the weight and have some form of self-protection in case I ever needed it. But I was fascinated by Bruce Lee when watching those Bruce Lee movies. So that started that whole quest there. And then that added to my self-image when I became a world champion in the martial arts.
So it just kept going and going.
It kept going, and I loved the compliment. It wasn't so much the recognition, the trophies, that all was nice, but it was feeling so good inside to realize that I have a message. There's many people out there just like me that have been down on life, that feel they can't do anything right, that have this paradigm that people have pushed them and pulled them and did everything to discourage them. There's so many people out there that could benefit by my experience.
That's right. So you set some very, very high goals for yourself.
Absolutely, but in baby steps.
In baby steps, which actually led to the publishing of your book, The 6 Steps to the Fountain of Youth, which really outlines the whole program, all the secrets. And you know what? You wrote that back in 1996, but all the 6 steps still apply today because you kept it simple.
Right. Well, that's the main thing. What I did is I broke success down into a formula. And one of the formulas, I have many, but everything in life is a formula. The formula that helped me the most was the Q plus Q times S equals the amount of success in our life. Now that can be used in sports and business or whatever. The quality of our work plus the quantity of our work times the spirit and harmony in which they do that gives us the amount of success.
Exactly. Hold that thought. We're going to take a brief little time out. When we come back, we have more for you right here on Prime Time.
This is one bee that loves going to the dentist because it's made for you and me.
My name is Dr. Becerra from New Tampa Pediatric Dental, providing a comfortable atmosphere in early dental care. Gives kids a great start for healthy teeth and gums for life.
When I go to Dr. B, they don't do anything to hurt you.
I used to be afraid, but I'm not now.
I'm not afraid of the dentist anymore. I love to see Dr. B. Call New Tampa Pediatric Dental today.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonatti created, perfected, and patented the Bonatti spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonatti invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonatti spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonatti succeeds where others fail.
Everyone's story is different, so why be limited to just one or two options? With Norcom's Norflex Home Loan, you're given the flexibility to tell your story. Pick your terms from 8 to 30 years, all while maintaining a low, fixed mortgage rate. You can pay off your loan more quickly or choose a term based on your budget and timeline. Whatever you do with the Norflex Home Loan, make it part of your financial plan. Norflex, short-term, long-term, your terms. Apply online at norcommortgage.com.
This is one bee that loves going to the dentist because it's made for you and me.
My name is Dr. Becerra from New Tampa Pediatric Dental, providing a comfortable atmosphere in early dental care. Gives kids a great start for healthy teeth and gums for life.
When I go to Dr. B, they don't do anything to hurt you.
I used to be afraid, but I'm not now.
I'm not afraid of the dentist anymore. I love to see Dr. B. Call New Tampa Pediatric Dental today.
Hi everyone, welcome back into Primetime TV Show. Hopefully you are enjoying some of the little secrets that my husband is sharing with you on how to become a world-class athlete, a world-class champion. But this can also spill over as becoming a champion in the game of life, because I think we'd all agree that life can become a game from time to time. So a lot of the things that my husband has applied in becoming a world-class champion and athlete in the full contact martial arts, I have adopted a lot of these different little tidbits, but I'm not out there fighting and competing or anything like that. But you know, you find that every day we have challenges, and when we can actually apply different concepts that work and work on that crazy belief system, that sometimes that kind of gets us a little off kilter. So I'm going to go back and have my husband share some more things, and then I'll give you what he's given me over all these years as my own life coach. And guess what? They have worked. And part of that is living from the heart and having a heart-centered life, and that is a big thing that we really, truly believe in every single day, 24/7, that's for sure. Now, just before we took the break, you were talking about...
Well, before we took the break, we're talking about Q plus Q times S equals amount of success. Mm-hmm. If you're looking at it from an athletic standpoint, you say the quality of your practice plus the quantity of your practice. But the most important thing is the times factor, the spirit and harmony in what you do that practice will have the big chance to make that either successful or non-successful. In other words, if your quality of your practice is poor, if the quantity and you're not going as practicing as much as you should is poor, then the spirit and harmony is going to be affected.
Hold that for just a second. Well, you're talking about the spirit and harmony and this whole formula and everything. So as an athlete, let's just talk about this as an athlete. when you're practicing and you're out there doing your punches and your kicks and everything and you're sparring, you're getting ready to spar with Lee, who is what, in his 40s? You're in his 70s?
He's about 30 years younger than me.
Okay, so how do you keep spirit and harmony when you get out there and you're not happy with your performance in practice? How do you handle that?
I don't get unhappy with my performance. I just get more determined.
Oh, okay.
And the thing that, and I give this advice, whether it be personal goals or sport goals or business goals, the key is to see the end result. What motivates me and those that really become world-class athletes is to be able to see the end result, to be able to experience already. For example, when I work out and train for a tournament, I see me receiving the award, I see me accomplishing the end result, and experiencing the feeling, the same feeling as if it was actually happening. And then I work my way towards that end result. So the quality of my practice is always good, plus the quantity of my practice is always good because, number one, my spirit and harmony is good because I see the results. I see and feel the results. And I experience the results even before the results happen. And usually it ends up the way I see it, even if it doesn't. The things that I tell everybody, I don't learn from my wins. I learn from my losses. When I lose a match, I don't fret about it. I say, okay, this is going to make me better by understanding what made me lose that match. I wasn't focused enough. I didn't train hard enough for that match. So you have to take the responsibility. And the word responsibility to most people is a nasty word. I think it is a good word. What that means is the ability to respond to. So if you don't take the responsibility, you're not in a position to respond to in a positive way.
So it's basically taking ownership. Now, does that affect as well in business?
Oh, yeah. For example, in business, especially in business, the quality of your service in your business, the quality, plus the quantity that you do of the quality. In other words, plus the quantity, in other words, the amount of things that you are able to establish and things you're able to improve. And then times the spirit and harmony, the biggest equals the amount of success you're going to have. The biggest thing I had with my employees is keeping their spirit and harmony up when we had to improve the quality. We had to improve the quantity. Sometimes people don't want to do what they need to do to improve the quality and quantity.
Exactly.
So the juggling effect here, especially if you're a coach or if you're a CEO of a company, is to raise the quality and quantity without hurting this peace and harmony. The most important thing is the spirit and harmony, not the quality and quantity. Because even if your quality and quantity is good and your spirit and harmony is poor, in other words, you may have pushed your employees to improve the quality and quantity to be good, but their spirit and harmony is down because they don't feel like they're getting paid enough, whatever. So you haven't done a selling job there in a sense. You haven't made them feel comfortable with that. So your spirit and harmony goes down. Then guess what's going to happen to the quality and quantity? Right down the tubes.
Exactly.
So the juggling effect is to create a racehorse out of a donkey.
I've never heard you say that.
I have said it probably about 20 years ago.
That's a very good one.
Yeah, in other words, the pride and being part of the team and how we're going to benefit. What's the benefit of increasing the quality and the quantity? Well, then we're going to be more proficient as far as improving the business or the school or the athletic performance and letting them see and share with you. One of the big things that I used to do with my employees that enabled me to expect more quality and quantity, I would give permission to box them in for success. I would give permission to relentlessly support them in their goals and allow me to be able to be as tough on them as I need to be, because the end result is I'm going to help them make their goals so they can help me make my goals. So I don't make my goals unless they make theirs. They don't make theirs unless I make mine. So making them feel that the goal is a combination of us working together. I benefit them, they benefit me. That is about as perfect a situation as you can get your business or your personal life. Going now, switching over to the personal life. A husband and wife, the quality of your relationship plus the quantity of the things you do to fortify that relationship, because a relationship is like a corporation. There's some things you need to do sometimes in a relationship, just like a corporation. You may not want to do those, but it makes the corporation better and more solid. So the quality of your relationship, plus the quantity of the things you do to support that relationship. But the big thing is the spirit and harmony. And once you do those things, is the success of that relationship.
I'm going to jump around here a little bit because I'm hearing a lot of different things that we actually do in our relationship, in our business. Can we do better? Absolutely. We can always do better. But commitment is a really, really big word, and that may mean different things to different people. But I think that is very, very strong, is when you make a commitment, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's in business, whether it's in competition out there in the sport arena, dancing, whatever it is, you have got to decide what kind of commitment you want to make, right? Isn't that what you did in business and in your competition?
Well, there's a big difference between being interested and being committed. For example, if I'm going to run a marathon, training for a marathon, let's use that as an example, and I'm committed. In other words, I feel I need to run 70 miles a week to compete for that marathon. And I look out the window in the morning and it's raining. I say, well, I'll go tomorrow when it's not raining. That's interest, but that's not commitment. Somebody who's committed will look out the window, it's raining, okay, I'll get my raincoat.
Right.
You know, that's the big difference.
Right.
Making that commitment. And the key thing is getting passionate about that commitment. Passion is the key. The biggest problem we have in the world is people get, I call it contentment. Contentment is a good thing. It's a positive thing. It's basking in something well done. So contentment makes you feel good, but it doesn't have any passion. It doesn't make you go any further.
And complacency goes a few steps
that comes the next
below
lower
that.
from contentment.
Yes.
So you see, contentment, fine, bask in the glory of what you did and what you accomplished for a little bit. But the key thing is then look at the next level. Where can you go? In other words, develop a passion, because passion, that's excitement. It's getting something done. Then you can bask in the glory for a while of what you accomplished with that level.
And then back at it again.
The biggest mistake I made when I lost my biggest bundle of money investing in a nightclub, when I had many other opportunities, taking hundreds of thousands of dollars, investing in a large disco nightclub. The key thing is, what happened is I didn't set any other goals. In other words, I sabotaged my own empire because I got bored with what I was doing. Because I had contentment and I basked too much in contentment. I did do my homework, and disco went out and country western came in, and I didn't see it coming. So I lost everything in the disco nightclub because I was content. I didn't have any passion because I was enjoying and basking in the glory of my accomplishments, but then I didn't do my homework.
And you stayed on autopilot for a while.
I stayed on autopilot.
Now that's different. Now, why are you coming back out to compete again? Certainly we do not need any more 6-foot trophies, trust me.
No, they take up too much room anyway. The reason I'm coming back out of retirement fight is not for me, it's for the people that I affect, that can affect their lives through my book and my movie that will be produced. The thing is, the main reason I come out is, well, two reasons. Number one, I'm recovering from Parkinson's disease, and that's something very few people ever recover from. So I'm recovering from that. And also the fact that I have so many wonderful things that I want to share with people that help me gain the attitude, the passion to be able to draw people to me that could help me overcome my Parkinson's. So I look at it this way. At 78 years of age, no man has ever fought in a world-class tournament at that age, even coming close to that. The last person was myself at 69 years of age. I fought at the Battle of Atlanta, one of the biggest tournaments in the world. So the key that I look at, if I get in there and compete just one time and let people know, especially when they find out that I've had Parkinson's disease, and be able to do that, think of the lives I can change out there. Think of the people that will be looking at this as, well, if he can do it, I can do it.
Absolutely.
That type of thing. It's not an ego thing with me. It's the pride factor, being able to leave this world and leave a lot of other lives happier and very much better off than they were before. I came into this world.
There's also something else that, as we continue to get ready to close our show here in a little bit, the one big foundation and factor in both of our lives that we truly want to be a draw with the movie, with the books, and the training program is faith in God. It's as simple as that. You don't have faith, at least this is how we feel, and this is what we've proven in our own lives. We love our God. We know that direction is strong. And when you get out of God's way, so much happens.
Well, that's so true. If you don't have strong spiritual beliefs, then none of this is going to matter because you're going to mess up somewhere down the line. There's a couple things that you need to really focus on. Number one, have a high code of ethics. That's so important. Your integrity is something that's more important than money. High code of ethics. There's so many people that compromise their ethics to get power, to get fame. You can't get in that class or with that class of individuals. I call them negators. The key is not only having a high code of ethics, but having a strong empathy-ego balance. Your ego drive and empathy balance is one of the key factors in being successful internally so that you can be successful externally and help other people. For example, having strong ego drive. That's so important, having that insatiable urge to want to win. Not at all costs, but having that insatiable urge to want to win. That is part of our ego drive. Now, a lot of people say ego is bad, but ego can be good because if you don't have a strong ego, nothing worthwhile is going to be accomplished. What keeps that ego in balance is the empathy balance. In other words, knowing when to be quiet, knowing when to back off, knowing, in other words, understanding how people feel and respecting their feelings, allowing other people to be the way they want to be, even though they may want to change you to be the way they want you to be. So having a strong empathy balance, a good empathy balance, is knowing when to back off, knowing when to shut up, knowing when to listen. That's why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth.
That's a good one. You know, there's a lot of truth to that.
Absolutely.
I've had to learn all of the above.
I had a very strong ego drive when I was young because I wanted to overcome these, but my empathy balance was terrible. I would hurt a lot of people, step on toes.
Hurt people's feelings?
Hurt people's feelings without realizing it because I was interested in becoming this individual.
Because it was all about you,
It was all about me. Then when I realized to have empathy balance, you have to understand other people's feelings. And then when I started practicing that, I realized how wonderful other people were. I all of a sudden had friends I didn't have before. But the biggest thing I had was self-satisfaction and really having a good self-image. That's so important to build that self-image. Your performance will have a direct relationship to your self-image.
Something very tragic happened to you, which we're not going to go into in this show. That it will be coming out in the movie in due time and the book and everything. But a few years before I met you, you had a terrible tragedy that happened in your life that was just, it was beyond your control. And things that happened to you that probably have happened to you, or a lot of people out there. How did, that affected your self-image at that time. How did you overcome that? You told me that after many years that you felt that really did affect your self-image. How did you pick yourself up by the bootstraps? How did you get back sitting right here across from me, sharing this and knowing that you're going to go out there and you're going to accomplish more stuff at this age?
That's a good question because that happened in 1992. I had 3 tragedies in 1 year. I won't even get into them, but the one was my career and everything. And what I said to myself, what could be good about this? God, why, again, God, why me? And I thought to myself, well, you know what? God just doesn't want me to go in this direction. He wants me to go in another direction. So I had to really do some, how would I say, deep soul searching and decide what direction do I want to go? How can I help more people? How can I help keep this bad experience and use that as an example to be able to pull myself up? Because I had so many people who were dependent on me. So what I did is I decided that I'm going to follow my principles.
Walk your
And
talk,
as a result,
right?
that ended up not being a bad thing, a good thing, because first of all, I met you after that happened. I got to write a book, win 4 more world championships. I accomplished more after that tragedy, and I had built myself up before that tragedy in 1992. I was very well respected. I had everything going for me, and when the bottom fell out, then when you're a success way up there and all of a sudden you fall down, you find out how many real friends you have. Not too many. So as a result, I use that as a catalyst. I use that as a driving force, because I figured if I can pull myself out of this, think of the people that I can use and help this as an example. Think of the self-image I'll build, and think of the character I can build by pulling myself out of this. If I allow myself to go to drugs or alcohol or commit suicide or something in that order, which never even crossed my mind.
I know.
But many people, if what happened to me would happen to them, would think suicide. It was that tragic.
But you had a strong foundation. You had
Strong
a strong
foundation.
foundation in God.
Right.
And it really
Strong
brings
spiritual beliefs.
Absolutely. It really comes back, or really comes down to a lot of that. And it did make you stronger.
Absolutely. I feel there's nothing I can't handle now.
No,
You
it's
reach a
true.
state of imperturbability where nothing rattles your cage.
It's so true. We are getting ready to say our goodbyes for today here in a couple of minutes. But, I have heard my husband's story, I can't tell you how many times. And every time I pull something that I can learn from it as well. Because you know what? We're always learning. We're always learning. And if we're not learning, the other thing that my coach, my husband, says is when you stop learning, you stop growing. Isn't that the way it goes? You stop learning, you stop growing.
Ray Kroc came out with a beautiful saying, the one that formulated McDonald's. When you're green, you grow. When you're ripe, you rot.
Ooh,
Think
boy.
about that.
Yeah, and on that note, I'm going to have to close our show out for us today. You have a couple of weeks off, don't you?
Yes.
Yes, you do. And then you'll be back in the saddle again to start off Heart Month. And we have some great surprises for you there. But in the meantime, I do want to thank you for joining us today, and hopefully you have pulled a few little tips that you can really think about. If you want to get a hold of us, you can always do so through my husband's website, dennis-kelly.com, and just send us some little notes. You can always Facebook us as well. Next week, I have a very special guest that's going to be joining me for the full hour. She is an acupuncturist. Dr. Mary Kelly is going to be joining us, and she's going to be talking about some alternative methods to help you in your healing.
You're going to love that.
That's
She's quite well informed.
Yes, and she's great, and she pulls no punches. She tells you the way it is. If you want to do this, you can try this, or you can try this. So, and then the following week, Women Unscripted is back, and that's just a wild and crazy show. We never know how that's going to go, but it always goes well, and there's always some wonderful underlying messages that we inspire and motivate our gals out there in TV land. So I want to thank you for joining us. God bless. Have a wonderful week. I will see you next Monday, and if you're around Wednesday, I will be hosting My Chamber TV, the heartbeat of our community, at 3:30. Thanks for joining us.